So I've previously talked about Phil Barker's Wargames research group and the innovative rule set that they had that eventually took over the British wargaming scene in the early 1970s. What I had done is reached out to them a couple of years back, got a limited license to be able to produce Men in Metal. They don't endorse Men in Metal. They have nothing to do with the production of Men in Metal. Men in Metal is not associated with WRG. All the disclaimers and caveats and quotation marks apply. What I have not done is provide a playthrough of Men in Metal so people can see how it actually runs at the table. Now, it's not the smoothest thing to run. Let's just say I am running it not as well as I could if I really buckled down and was focused. Instead, what happened was I was not using a camera the whole time. I took some photographs with the iPhone. I took occasional videos that will start taking place, I think, between turns 4 and 6. When I played a play-by-post with a few guys for Chainmail, I took basically the same deployment and scenario and laid out the pieces on the table the same way. One side of the table I called Law, and the other side of the table I called Chaos. It's unclear from my review, since it's been over a year since I recorded these materials, which side was which. I'm sure it will become apparent later as we start walking through things. So from what it looks like from what I'm going to call the near side of the table, with the delimiters on the left side, starting from the left, on the back row, we've got some light foot, actually not light foot, but the green denotes lighter troops, medium is heavier troops, and then red is the heaviest troops of all. On the left side in the rear, it looks like we've got some longbowmen. Next to them, we've got some heavy horse. Moving to the right, we've got a rather large block of armored foot, then a big block in the middle of heavy foot. To the right of them, another block of heavy horse, and then to the far right, again, some archers. Out in front, we've got 3 different groups of, I think it was 9 blocks each. Those are meant to represent light troops that are skirmishers, so the purple and blue and green there in the very, very front, those are skirmishers, which can be interpenetrated, etc. The blocks, you'll notice, are not completely filled in. This was before I had enough blocks to be able to do an army this large, and I think we were doing a cut-down version of the Battle of Cannae, so forgive us. We did not have full materials at this point. I have also added 3 figures. One of them represents the army commander. I think he is with the armored foot, and then the other 2 are simply subordinate commanders. In WRG, as we will discuss in a few minutes, there is a concept of orders being passed down via messengers to the units, and then messages being conveyed back up to the commander. The messengers are a very critical a critical part of this rule set and how it plays out. Also, writing orders down is also very important. I tried to limit myself to 10 minutes per unit when writing orders, to maintain a certain amount of time pressure, right? And also to provide additional friction points where orders could be misinterpreted because they were written in such haste. Because I am using a centimeter scale, the initial deployment takes place very close to the table edge. As a matter of fact, some of those trays that I created from vinyl flooring actually are hanging off the side of the table. I'm trying to recall back whether or not we had done the chainmail battle with a staggered deployment. I believe we did, and so I think the same staggered deployment is going to occur here. But you can see as we begin turn 2 that pieces are just getting arrayed onto the table, especially for the far side. So I think they did have a staggered deployment. As we begin turn 3, you can see that indeed a unit of heavy foot, along with either a unit commander or the army commander, has appeared onto the board. and the other commanders are arrayed there. You see skirmishers there on the right. Those are those 9 different blocks of 2 pieces, 2 blocks each. And lastly, from bottom to top in this case, it looks like we've got armored foot, then their bows, then their heavy foot, then medium horse followed by heavy horse, right adjacent to the heavy foot, and then finally on their far right flank, the top of the screen, another unit of heavy foot. What you'll see is occasionally I have to lay down a marker next to horse units. The heavy horsemen can move at 2 different rates. One of them is for extra heavy cavalry and the other one's for super heavy cavalry, if you go back to WRG terminology. What that means is if the horses were wearing metal barding, if they were totally kitted out, then they would move at 6 inches per turn instead of 8 inches per turn. I'm denoting that this heavy horse unit is moving at 8. So they're wearing cloth or leather barding.